Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to The Lock Shop. Dusty and Huss with you. We are in separate rooms for The Lock Shop today. Huss isn't allowed up on the 26th floor. That's, I guess, what the rule is here.
Rolls into Boston and just takes over the entire place. What else is new, folks?
What are the odds? I was just gonna say we just saw each other.
Yeah, well,
downstairs getting Powerades before the show.
We did. I think tomorrow we'll crank this out together in the same spot. I wanted to make sure of a technical thing that would not deep six the program with us both in the same spot. It has been rectified. Shout out to the CTO, Remus. A quick FaceTime call was all it took. But I do have to jump out a little earlier than you guys because, of course, Patty's going to join us. Listen, this appearance of Pat is going to be tough.
Oh, man.
Because we are having the best time. The entire crew is here. Ange, Jake, myself, you have now joined us. Better late than never. And Pat's not here. And it is too bad. I know he's got major FOMO right now. But he's on fire picking golf winners. So we need him to come in and let us know who he should be jumping on for the Mexico Open this week. But yes, we are missing him. He will join us today on the program. But it is good to have you, big guy, show up a couple days after we expected, but you got here and you must be fired up. I mean, tomorrow is going to be a game that we're going to be lucky enough to be at with the guys. And the more I think about it, with everything around it, I guaranteed this will be a game that we will never forget for the rest of our lives. But it could stand out as one of the most unique moments, I think, in Canadian hockey history. And when you combine all the other BS politically surrounding these two countries, it's as unique a situation, I think, as I can remember.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about it a little bit this morning. We had Chris Johnson on, we had Greg Wyshynski on, and then we just in general were asking, our listeners this morning. Of course, you can chime in anytime, 780-218-9999 if you're listening on TuneIn or iHeart or wherever. And obviously on YouTube, the chat's moving pretty good today, so we'll get into that a little bit. But, as far as anticipation for this game goes, I mean, it's got to be, I think, on the top 5 of most people's lists over the last 30 years as a hockey fan. 5. I mean, has to be.
Like, what, put it this way. What's above it?
Well, for Oilers fans, they did have 2 Stanley Cup final game 7s in the last, 15 years. So I figured Oilers fans would probably be like, okay, a game 7 guy. But 2010, 2002, and this, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think, listen, different fan, like, let's talk about Canadians here and not break it down to market for market.
Yeah.
Because, you're right. I mean, listen, and I'll be the first one to admit, would I rather win the 4 Nations or rather my team win the Stanley Cup? It would be the latter. But the scenario around this game with so many people, I mean, the boost that it is giving the National Hockey League right now is just, I mean, we talked about it yesterday, Dusty, but I mean, I turn on the television Monday morning after getting here before going to the games, and Bill Guerin is doing a 20-minute spot on Fox News. I mean, they're talking about this game. They're like, Trump, and by the way, it sounds like he is going to come to the game too. And I knew that he would. I mean, he's been peacocking at NASCAR, at golf events. I mean, so much of this, to be honest, the hype around the game is actually a lot his doing, as much as we don't like it and what has been happening. So for sure, he's going to be there. And that, I mean, I'm not sure if you saw, there was a quote, and I didn't see this, but Guerin, I believe, has been quoted as saying that the team is really drawing inspiration from Trump's 51st state thing. That is poking the bear more than more than necessary. And I really do believe, like, just from what we heard yesterday from Brandon Hagel saying that. What's Sidney Crosby saying in that room? What's Connor McDavid? What's Nate McKinnon doing? They're messing. I think that they are doing themselves a little bit of a disservice going there. But if they want to go there, Team Canada is going to be ready to meet them there. And oh my God, I cannot wait for tomorrow night.
Well, and this Quinn Hughes thing is still not completely sorted out. Hey, you saw Guerin today. He was asked about it a little bit. And I mean, I thought as of 3 or 4 hours ago that it was probably not going to happen. I still think it's not going to happen. But the fact that the conversation has popped up again, I find somewhat interesting.
Yeah, well, they still want to get him here. I mean, if I'm the Canucks, I'm like, well, hold on a second here. He's in Vancouver right now. We practiced yesterday in a non-contact jersey. You're going to fly Quinn Hughes from Vancouver to Boston, about as far of a flight as you can get in the NHL. Potentially have him play and then be back in, I think, Vegas on Saturday, 2 days later to resume the season. And Vancouver's in an absolute dogfight to make the playoffs.
Yeah, they've got some huge games, right?
Here's the thing. I mean, they haven't changed the rules. Like, as far as we know right now, correct me if I'm wrong after talking to CJ and Wish, Quinn Hughes can only play if there is another injury. I mean,
yeah, that's as of this morning, that was still the thing. Like, they would need Jake Sanderson to get hurt for Quinn Hughes, or something along those lines, right? So I don't know. I thought it was going to be put to bed kind of late last night. And then now I see the conversation has sort of popped up again today and will likely continue for, I don't know, at least a couple of hours. Probably by the end of your show, we'll have 100%, it's not happening. So stop talking about it type of thing.
The one thing I'll say about this that, like, I mean, I think there is something to be said where, hey, they should just be able to have whoever the hell they want to play. I mean, but this really goes to the PA. I mean, like, the NHL and the NHLPA put this on. There was a lot of good negotiations to make it happen. And the PA was so adamant that they didn't want guys to miss their vacation to come and be a part of this thing and not play, that they negotiated these very small rosters and very tight rules as far as adding players. I mean, it was crazy. Like, Theodore was out of the tournament, so there was no backup. And they were still saying that Harley could not make it to Montreal. And then, of course, Cale Makar went down and they needed him. But at the start, he was there. He wasn't even able to be on the ice beforehand, which actually made his performance in the Canada-USA game on Saturday that much more impressive.
Yeah.
Listen, I think cooler heads will prevail when they get together for World Cup or whatever it is. These rosters should be bigger. I mean, there's some people that said the rosters should be like 25. And I think if guys realized that they might not play, but they were a part of it, I think they still would have been down to go. Now, would you rather be an extra in the Four Nations or be in Cabo for a week? Listen, individuals can make that decision if, through it. But it is a little unfortunate to be talking about rule stipulations. And again, Quinn Hughes was a guy that was on the team to begin with, Dusty. He was taken off, probably really regrets it, to be perfectly honest with you. But that's where we are right now. Hey, listen, Charlie McAvoy's out. And I don't know if you've been reading, what the Bruins and the Bruins doctors put out. He basically checked himself out of the tournament, like a body checked himself. I mean, he was incredible in that game on Saturday. And I mean, you've watched McDavid's whole career. Have you ever seen him get hit like that?
That was, I mean, first of all, it's so difficult to track him down, right? Like, he is so hard to hit. That's a good question. I don't think I've ever seen McDavid get cleanly rocked that hard. Like, McAvoy had a great game. I mean, it's going to be a significant loss. Like, you're taking McAvoy away from the United States and you're adding Cale Makar to Canada, which should be a pretty significant swing for this game on Thursday. And obviously tomorrow, myself, Huss, and Jake will continue to set this game up. But what like, we're not going to see the start we saw last one. That's a one-off. So how do you see this game compared to the last game stylistically? Like, how long does it take for a little bit of a nasty edge to develop in this one?
Well, I don't think it'll take very long, but it won't be fighting. It'll be, I mean, there's a number of players on both teams that'll be playing the most intense physical game that they've ever played.
Yeah.
I think that there'll be plenty of hitting. I think that there's not going to be any easy ice out there. But at the same time, we've been talking about how fast these games are. Maybe the fastest games ever when you consider the two rosters and the level that they're playing right now. So more than anything, I think it's going to feel like Game 7 OT from the drop of the puck tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, it will. You're right.
Knowing that it's not going to be over if you give up a goal. But the one thing that Canadians want to do, that they did last game, but maybe a little better, is get a lead and play with it and not be coming back. Because the one thing I think we saw after Binner let in that second goal, and you got to the midway point of the second period and the third period, the U.S., to Mike Sullivan's credit, completely changed the way that they played. And it was the 1-2-2. And despite the incredible talent in the Canadian team, they were not able to gain the zone with the ease that they had earlier on. And they certainly weren't able to generate any high danger scoring chances. I think I just heard that high danger chance, and there's high danger chance, and then there's Connor McDavid high danger chances on Connor Hellebuck. With the exception of that, like anything outside of that level of chance, Hellebuck saved. He is the quintessential guy. If he sees it, he's going to save it. So I think that there's going to be an impetus on Canada to get more traffic in front of the net. I wouldn't be surprised to see a guy like Sam Bennett spend considerably more time in and around the blue paint. And they may have to kind of grind and manufacture a few dirty goals. Not that you really think of that with this roster. But, hey, we can't just plunk Tom Wilson into this game and in front of the net. So they're going to have to figure it out. But I will say this, the addition, and you touched on this, the addition of Cale Makar, who missed the game on Saturday, is listen, Josh Morrissey was brilliant in that game.
He was good in that game. I was going to talk about him. I thought he was tremendous. Yeah.
Great old tournament that I think it's a real eye-opener. I mean, that's what, Ange and Jake, who don't see a lot of Jet games, were commenting through the Canada-Finland game, is they hadn't seen this guy enough, and they couldn't believe how good he was. He's so well-rounded. But Cale Makar has just an extra gear that nobody in the National Hockey League has. So I think that is a big, big boost to Canada's fortunes coming in. And listen, McAvoy was a problem. From the second that Canada went up 1-0, he was on a mission. He was hitting McDavid. He was hitting everyone, basically. And, it is unfortunate that he's not going to be in the game, because he really added a lot to the physicality and the moment of Saturday night, not through scoring, but through, making guys pay the price.
Dustin Nielson with it. You can text us anytime, 780-218-9999. Huss, what is you just talked about, how they're going to have to find ways to beat Connor Hellebuck, maybe get a little bit greasy around the crease. What is your current level of confidence in Binnington at the other end in this game?
It's middle of the road. Yeah. I mean, this is the thing with Binnington. All scenarios are possible. Jordan Binnington could, like he did in 2019, could go on. I mean, this is the building that he won the Game 7 on the road against Boston. So, I mean, I guess that is a nice little piece of history or experience. Like Binnington could absolutely be the best goalie on the ice in a single game. He could play lights out. Binnington also could let in 3 of the first 4 shots, and Aiden Hill could be in the net in Canada having a big, like there's the range of outcomes of Binnington.
It's scary, man.
Far less certain than what the United States has in Connor Hellebuck. Hellebuck will be there. He'll be great. He'll take care of everything that he should. Probably a few that maybe he shouldn't, or most goalies wouldn't. And Canada's going to have to earn their goals in this game. And hey, listen, we saw the one that they scored against the United States on Saturday night was just an all-time goal by Connor McDavid. I think he and Nate Dogg are going to need to be those guys again to, because it will take some all-world stuff to win. And then again, the other way, I think back to, how Hellebuck and, people still talk about this. Oh, he had a rough playoffs. Listen, the Jets had a rough playoffs in front of him. But if you let guys stand there all alone, tipping pucks out of the air, those are sometimes impossible to stop if you do it. So I do think they'll try to have traffic. They'll try and get plenty of shots on. But to me, those real dynamic players and scorers for the Canadian team are going to be the keys to try and get to a guy that's looking to win back-to-back Vezinas and is in the conversation for the Hart Trophy. And I'll tell you what, even though this is not part of the NHL regular season and probably shouldn't factor into that, don't think that a massive game, like if Hellebuck stones the Canadians and they win the Four Nations with all this attention, I think that his Hart chances go up significantly because, like Josh Morrissey, people see the numbers, but they haven't really seen the player because they don't see a lot of Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, so just off top of mind, he also had that game, even though it's not going to factor in, it's factoring in a little bit up here.
Well, I just think that the perception of him is going to be very different by a bunch of people that, as they say, no, I think that's actually voted on by the GMs. So this isn't just like average fans or some media people that only pay attention to their own team. But he'll be a real central figure in this. I guess the other question is, how does the USA lineup look? I know Austin Matthews and Brady Tkachuk and Matthew Tkachuk are playing. There'll be a big question as to, what level of ability those guys are at to play anywhere close to the way they were at the beginning of the game. Because that, listen, Austin's been somewhat quiet.
He has been, yeah. I thought was it the first US game? Thought he and Hughes looked pretty good in that first USA game, but hasn't really done that much since, right? It's been the Tkachuk brothers leading the way here for the United States, and I'm assuming that'll probably be the case on Thursday night as well. But maybe Austin Matthews does have his moment here at some point for the Americans.
Well, I was talking to Jake, of course, who's a card-carrying member of Leafs Nation. And, the way this is shaping up, someone's going to win. But of Austin Matthews or Mitch Marner, one of those guys is going to be hearing it coming out of this tournament for not being able to help their team win. And listen, Mitch started off on the top line. He's now basically on a checking line role, kind of similar to what's happened with Kyle Connor, our guy. But Matthews is the captain of the team. And yes, they generated a bunch of chances and looked pretty good in the first game against Finland. They didn't do much in the Canada game, and then he didn't play in the Sweden game. Yeah. So Matthews in particular, if we're talking about who's got the most pressure on them in this game, Hellebuck will be right up there, McDavid, McKinnon, but I would certainly put Austin Matthews up there because the one thing that Matthews hasn't done isn't anything in the playoffs. They've won a round in his career. So you can kind of couch that lack of success with, hey, the team wasn't very good. He did everything he could. This is a night where everyone needs to step up and be at their best. And if Austin Matthews isn't and the USA loses, the questions I think about his level of leadership, how is he truly one of the superstars in this league, which I think he is for the record. I'm not saying that he's not. Yeah. I'm just saying that the narratives around it This game is going to form so much of the conversation in the hockey world. And listen, let's face it, there's a lot of people that have heard of Austin Matthews. Know that, oh yeah, he's this guy from Arizona that's a really good hockey player. They're going to have millions of people on both sides of the border that don't normally watch hockey that are in on this game. And fairly or unfairly, so many people are going to be judged by 60 minutes of hockey in something outside of their season and playoffs. But that's what makes, I think, the spectacle of this championship game tomorrow so cool.
You know, it's going to be interesting going back to watching regular NHL, regular season hockey especially after watching this game tomorrow night. I mean, I said this morning, like, nothing against third and fourth liners in the National Hockey League because they're phenomenal hockey players, but my God, there's going to be a bit of a letdown when we get back to NHL action this weekend. However, Huss, you know, the television numbers for this have been outstanding so far. And Chris Johnston said this morning that the NHL was surprised by the first number. It was like 4 million Canada, Sweden or whatever. And they're like, wow, it's kind of double what we thought it would be. So the NHL caught off guard maybe a little bit by the success of this event. You know, in Canada, we're going to be sucked right back into an Oilers possible cup run, a Jets possible cup run, a Leafs possible cup run. But what about in the United States, you think? Like, do you think, especially if they win, but even if they don't, I mean, there's a lot of eyes on this U.S. hockey team right now. Do you think the NHL can do anything with it moving forward south of the border here?
Well, for sure. I mean, to be honest, I think it's already happened. I mean, you know, just the way that the weekend went with the vast consensus of anything that you read online, then don't take that for what it's worth. But I think the television numbers will tell you that it's a pretty good indication that people were captivated by this. And even if they weren't even knowing what this tournament was, the minute they heard about that first 10 seconds and went and turned the TV on, you saw an incredible rivalry of guys playing with intensity, passion for their country, which I think really does resonate with casual fans. And the television numbers speak for themselves. So what was it? It was 4.4 million in the States and 5.7 million, I believe, in Canada.
It was just under 6 in Canada and 4.4 in the States. Yeah.
So we should do a little prediction pool with the fellows. What the TV numbers are going to be like tomorrow for this game. I would imagine that if it was 4.4 on a Saturday night, with the hype going on, with nothing else really happening, I mean, I think that they might be able to hit 6+ in the States, which would be, I mean, so monstrous for the National Hockey League. And I mean, dude, if it was 5.7,
you're going to do a 10. You're doing a 10 for sure on Thursday night here
in Canada.
Like, yeah, have to. Like, I think it's going to be at least 10 million. I mean,
I wouldn't bet against it.
Yeah, after the way the last game went, everything that's going on right now, geopolitically, like I think it'll be a 10. I bet you it's going to be somewhere. Combined, I bet you it'll be somewhere between 16 and 20 million for this hockey game between the two countries. So
meanwhile, your guy LeBron dragging the NBA down to depths that they've never.
Oh God! Don't even get me started. Still more people.
80%. A league, a time, just a lost generation for a league that used to be. It used to be NBA. It's fantastic. It was about the fans. Now the fans have turned away on it because of the greed, the selfishness of today's player, led by none other. King James.
More people in the States still watch the NBA All-Star game than the hockey game. But still, it was closer than usual. So I guess they got that going.
Yeah, it was 4.7 million. That's down 80%.
80%?
80, not 18.
But from when? Like last year?
No, before they would get 25 million people watching that.
Yeah. Yeah,
can't even crack 5. I
still don't even understood what happened this weekend. I thought it was interesting.
They had a G League guy going for a 3-peat.
Yeah, for a 3-peat. Do you see some thoughts about a one-on-one tournament instead of an all-star game?
Yeah. I mean, and some of the players said that they would do it, I guess. I mean, like, anything's better than what they've been doing for the last year.
They've been, from a format perspective, they've been absolutely butchering the NBA All-Star Weekend.
Well, the funniest thing is, and I'm not sure whether it was myself and Jake talking about this yesterday, but the other big takeaway from the weekend, with all the hype and everyone going, what the hell's going on in this hockey game? Holy crap, Canada, USA, look at the passion, is that they're saying, well, wait a second, maybe we do the NBA All-Star game, the USA versus the world. I can't believe they didn't do that 2, 3, 4 years ago. But I think they wanted to, listen, it was the KD team, it was the LeBron team. I mean, like they just, it's devolved into just a thing. Well, kind of like what the NHL did to their All-Star game too. Like,
yeah,
NHL,
exactly.
Not part of this as well. And you know what I think, dude? We have, as a sports culture, and guys like us in the media are a big part of it, even though I don't subscribe to it, but it's this whole thing where it's just all about rings, diminishing everything that happens through the regular season, through the playoffs. Like, one team's champions, everyone else are losers. They didn't win. I think it is totally taken away a lot of the things that were great about sports that should be, a big part. I mean, we should like the All-Stars getting together. Those guys should like the opportunity to do it and be respected for it and all that. And, it seems like in the ring chasing culture that's kind of emerged in sports over a number of years, that no one really gives a damn on that. And if that was the case, well, the players certainly weren't going to. And here we are.
Okay, Pat's going to join us here in a little bit. We'll talk some golf, but we're also going to talk some Blue Jays with Pat. You guys going? Because we were having a little Blue Jays conversation last night at the pub here in Boston as well. And I mean, like, do you think Matt Kramala brought it up on our show today? Like, he doesn't think they could have done anything to keep Vladdy. Like, he just feels like as soon as Vladdy gets an idea that, hey, I'll be able to go somewhere else, he was going somewhere else. Like, it just, so he almost didn't even want to blame it on their horrible front office and just be like, a guy has a chance in free agency to go somewhere else, go play at Fenway, go play in Boston. Like, there was nothing the Jays could have done about it. Do you think there's any way they salvage this, and how do they remain relevant if not only can they not get big free agents to come and they basically get used as a side piece in every negotiation ever, how do they stay relevant if their guy leaves and goes to one of your bitter rivals?
Well, listen, I completely disagree with Matt Kramala's take on that. I mean, it's not like what, but he was never going to re-sign with them. I mean, I reject that. I think that it was possible, but there was a level that the Jays didn't want to go to that would get it done. And listen, listen, these guys are so screwed because of just what has happened and kind of your spot getting used as a third piece to jack up numbers with other teams. They have been, it's been ugly. And now the fan base has sort of turned against them. This was, in a lot of ways, their chance to at least show that the company, they are committed to moving forward. But I will admit, I would have grave concerns with giving Vladdy a contract that makes him one of the highest paid players in the game for the rest of his career and pay him for 12 or 13 years. I mean, we've already seen his weight fluctuate, his performance fluctuate pretty significantly over the last 3 years. Now, he's in a good time right now. He had a real strong bounce back year last year. This is a great time to be him. But, I mean, I'll ask you. I mean, would you pay him 45, 50, whatever the number is, for 13 years? And how long do you think he'd be Vlad Guerrero Jr.? And at what point does he become a DH that, you're paying like one of the top players in baseball?
Yeah, I think we had this conversation last night, and you make a fair point on, how does his body hold up? I also said last night I wouldn't have given Ohtani or Soto 15 years either. Like, to me, 13 to 15 years, taking somebody through all of their 30s into their 40s is just a desperate plea to try to get them. But I think from a business perspective, you do it, you keep them, and then you deal with that when the time comes. You know what I mean? Like,
there's something to be said for that, especially in the situation that the Blue Jays are in.
Yeah, I mean, because if they can't get anybody to come in and they can't keep their own, then you're getting dangerously close to just being stuck in mediocrity limbo. Like, that's what you're getting very close to becoming. And I mean, as a fan of the Blue Jays, I don't want to see that. Like, not that Vladdy's leading them to AL championship games and things like that, but it's a pretty significant piece that you're going to have to go out and try to find to replace now. And then at the same time, it's just another blow for a fan base of an organization that has just like killed themselves over the last 3, 4, or 5 years, which is frustrating. I miss the days of Encarnacion and Bautista and the nation going crazy for the Toronto Blue Jays, now to the point where I didn't even sit down and watch one full Jays game from start to finish this past year. You know, it's just, and I don't think I'll have a bunch of people texted in today. I got buddies who I used to watch Jays with games like religiously, and they're essentially boycotting the team until they replace the management and go from there. So I don't know, man. It'll be interesting to see where it all ends up.
The funny thing is, from a Rogers perspective, those guys did what they came to do. I mean, someone told me that they're stadium builders, and they came in and they did some great renos to Rogers Center. The new seats are really cool. There's all sorts of bars in and around it. Well, that's great, but unless you're selling loony hot dogs, you're gonna have 30,000 empty seats in the building right now. And listen, we have seen teams each and every year with the expanded playoffs be competitive, get in and make something happen, which, to be honest, Dustin, makes this era of the Blue Jays history that much more embarrassing. You could make the argument that when Vlad and Bo and that group was coming up, it was literally the most exciting group of young players maybe in the history of that franchise. And you could compare it. I mean, that was thought to be, this team is going to be a powerhouse for a number of years.
Yeah.
Zero playoff wins. Like, nothing to show for one game win. And you think back to some of those games, they were getting shut out. They couldn't hit. So those guys are part of it as well. But I don't envy that situation in Toronto for the team, for the fan base, and for the players that are there right now, because I think that with what's happened with Vlad, this was going to go one way or the other. If he did stay and he signed the contract, they said, okay, here's a cornerstone, a building block, and we move forward this way. I mean, now it's just a matter of, do they trade him at some point? I mean, we're probably talking about a season similar to last year, and that's not good for the lone team north of the border.
All right, is Nielson Huss with you on the Lock Shop? Patty is going to join us shortly here, and let's bring in Pat Gregoire now from Coolbet, and we can. Oh boy, sorry, Patty, man, you should be here. This is awesome.
The FOMO is real, fellas.
I feel really bad because I was this close to having that FOMO myself, and my God, I'm glad I made it.
I'm sure you are, and the trip has just begun. We haven't gone to the main event yet for you guys, but no, in all seriousness, super stoked for you guys. Looked like you guys had a lot of fun yesterday. Great programming right from Boston, but I mean, the big main event comes tomorrow. You guys got a job to do. All right, I'm not talking about just promoting the Coolbet brand. It's about winning that Four Nations Cup. We need you guys to be loud.
We're going to deliver a title. We're going to deliver a title for the nation. Don't worry about it.
I'm canceling your guys' flights home unless you're bringing the Four Nations trophy with you.
Oh, boy. Have they named that thing yet? I don't think they've named that thing yet, have they?
No, it's an awesome trophy, though.
Oh, my God. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Huge. Yeah.
And the funny thing is, it's going to be one and done. because like so much of it has the 4 countries on it. It's got the 4 nations thing. I mean, it'll probably just go to the Hockey Hall of Fame afterwards, but I guess the idea, or maybe either USA or Canada, whoever wins it is just going to get it and can put it in their archives, because the next year it'll be the World Cup, whether it's 6 or 8 teams. I mean, it won't just be the 4 nations.
Yeah.
But
well, whatever they do, they can't bring back the World Cup, that trophy, whatever it was.
That was awful.
That was one of the worst trophies in the history of trophies. That was so bad.
Yeah, it was like the stepchild of the World Series trophy, essentially. I mean, that's basically what you were looking at.
And the World Series trophy is brutal as well. Like top of all the sports leagues. It's kind of funny how the Stanley Cup and the Grey Cup.
Grey Cup, so good too.
Like Canadians do trophies better, I think, than just about anywhere. The Super Bowl is kind of neat, but it's small. It's not.
Can't drink out of it.
Exactly. Just a big.
That's priority number 1 for a trophy. Let's be honest.
It's true though. It's funny. A little NLL chatter. They designed a new trophy. And the commissioner is getting ready to hand it off to Buffalo, their captain Steve Priol, after they won it last year. And they're doing their announcements or whatever. He gets it ready to hand it over to Pri and says congratulations, like job well done, back-to-back champs. And before he hands it off, says, by the way, you can drink out of this one, because the previous trophy you weren't able to. So, priority number 1. You're right. You got to be able to have a drink out of it.
Patty, Huss is going to leave in about 2 or 3 minutes here. Where we'll give our Mexico Open picks, but I do need to get your thoughts on the Blue Jays. And they can't get a deal done with Vladdy. Says he's going to go to free agency. The Red Sox are already listed as the top contender, and you know how it usually works. He's going to probably end up there. How do you view this as a Jays fan?
I'm not surprised. I'm not shocked. Shatkins. This regime has just been so bad, man. It has been so bad. They're preoccupied with, doing renovations in the ballpark. But let's be honest, ballpark's great. Ballpark's way better than it was. It's still a cinder block in the middle of the city. It's still not a true ballpark, but hey, it's beautiful. People can have different drinks all over the park. But as one thing as we know with the Blue Jays and with the Blue Jays fans, there's definitely a hardcore fan base. Don't get me wrong. But with the way that baseball is in Toronto, when Toronto gets their best attendance, it's when the team is good. It's when the team is winning. It's when the team is fun to root for. The last 2 years have been 2 of the most unlikable, insufferable Blue Jays iterations. I get it. It's probably come to a point now where you have to hit the reset, but what an all-time fumbling this has been. What was it, 2-3 years ago? They're heading into the season, odds-on favorites to win the World Series.
Yes.
2-3 years before that, the best prospects in the game. Like, we were set up to have not just a couple of good seasons in a row in Toronto. We were set up to have a team that could compete for championship after championship. And they have not gotten anywhere close since the days of Encarnacion and Joey Bats and those teams. That's when baseball was fun, man. This team is not fun to watch anymore. It is depressing to see where this group has gone, and it all rests on the shoulders of leadership. I'm sorry, that's where it is. They are more focused about doing all these upgrades and dollar hot dogs, different bars, upgrades to, hey, we got cup holders. Sweet. We got cup holders now. That's awesome. No one's going to be able to put beers in those cup holders this summer because no one's going to want to go and watch this pitiful baseball team. Yeah, I know Vladdy's going to be here for another year. What pisses me off the most
is that they were throwing huge money at these other guys, but won't give even less money to Vladdy to keep him. Like, that's what frustrates me.
Well, that the thing is, it's like, were they actually throwing money, or was this like them? They know that they're not going to, and it's more of them saving face with the franchise.
Yeah.
Is it them also, they know they're not getting it done. They're helping out their other buddies around the league to push, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I really don't know what it is. Do they have, this is maybe now me putting on tinfoil hat. Are they helping agents? Are they helping agents to drive up the price? Is that what they're doing?
The answer to that is yes. Whether it's intentional or not, I can't tell you, but 100% they have been used as the side piece for the real negotiation between the two parties that actually get deals done. And listen, Pat, I said to the guys, we talked a lot about this last night. There is part of me that is like, are you serious? You want to give the, 45, 50 mil a year to Vlad for 11, 12 years? I mean, what's he going to be? Never mind in 10 years, 3, 4, considering the up and downs. But to your point, and the guys, I think that after everything that's happened, this organization just cannot afford to come up empty again in this. And because they're looked at as guys that can't get it done. And all we're seeing is the erosion of what was a real quality team with super high expectations that basically is going to be completely blown up or done with not a damn playoff win to show for it, which is truly stunning.
It's remarkable. And I saw a tweet yesterday. I wish I had who it was, because it was an amazing tweet. It was like something like, my favorite thing about Toronto sports is the team that can actually spend an infinite amount of money chooses not to, and the team that actually would want to spend an infinite amount can't spend it. And that's the Toronto Maple Leafs because of a damn salary cap. But the Blue Jays, you're right. Like, they need a win in this fan base. They need a win somewhere. They need a dub. And the easiest way is one of their best homegrown prospects in recent years. Even when you look back at some of those teams that had a lot of success, a lot of it was trades. Yes, Joey Bats he wasn't drafted by them, but they go out, they trade them, and then they develop different guys. But like from true homegrown grassroots, like Vladdy's their guy, and the fan base is losing faith. They're getting sick and tired of being the mystery team that just drives up the price, like you said, Huss. They needed a win. They needed to give this fan base a hope in hell. This was their opportunity. And like it is, it's like, yeah, you know what? You're right. That contract probably ages like a bag of milk. We know that. That's for sure. But the beauty of baseball is you can spend and if you have the money, it doesn't really matter. The Blue Jays are owned by a big telemarket. Like, you check my bill. Check my bill for my phone. Check my bill for my internet. Check my bill for my TV. They're doing fine. They can pony up and sign Vladdy for what he's asking for.
Hey, I've got to run. We got to run a couple tests and get things set up for WST, which is coming up in at the top of the hour. Craig Button's going to join us. Jamie Thomas in Boston. Going to be a great show. But Patty, just as I let you guys dive into the golf in the Mexico Open, we didn't have the show. This is our first chance, as much as we've Ludwig Oberg came through. What was it? 22 to 1? Like
22 to 1.
Oh, I was, speaking of FOMO, I had FOMO on missing out on riding with you on that bet yesterday. But anyways, miss you, pal. Enjoy the game tonight. And we'll get myself, Jake, and Dusty together for a banger tomorrow, getting ready for the game.
I'll be tuning in for sure.
See you later, Huss.
See you later on.
There you go. That is Huss. Patty, you just so quickly, I had to get to this. Where is it here? I think it was Big Uke. The Blue Jays have been used like the intimacy package in Dusty's hotel room. So I don't know if you saw the morning show today, but I'd never seen this in a hotel room before. I was just like, so there's a really fancy tray, and I picked up one of the cans of food, and I saw sensors. I put it right back down, so I don't know. Anyway, there's a little box that says intimacy, intimacy package, and I was like, what is this? Like, I've never seen this in a hotel room, so I was kind of curious, so I picked that up too. So if it comes up, I promise you I didn't. Anyway, it's like 2 condoms and some lube in this thing, and I was just like, what is like in the. This room is insane. Like they marked me down as a no-show. So checking in last night, and Ange just helped me because they didn't have me because they marked me as a no-show. And then they gave me this massive suite. Like I'm in this huge freaking suite. And so anyway, when it comes up, I did not use the intimacy package. I was curious about it. I picked it up, and I don't know if that registers on the sensor.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, I don't know how that works. I can honestly say I don't know if I've seen one of those hanging around in any of my hotel rooms, but maybe when you're in a big suite like that in Boston, they just assume you're slinging it around.
That's crazy. Like that's nuts. All right, so Mexico Open, not a who's who of a lineup this week for sure. I think that I would. I know who. I mean, you're on Akshay Bhatia. You might as well tell us about it, I would assume. Anyway, there's a couple of guys that sort of stand out here, but it's not the strongest of field. So who do you like, Patty?
Obviously, we start at the top of the card with Bhatia, and then whether he's at the top, bottom, middle, wherever it is, I'm usually riding with this guy. I talked about how he's come really close to some signature wins before. We know, obviously, at the Valero, that was a great win. I don't know if we can call it a signature win. I don't know if winning here would be a signature win either, but when you look at the field, I don't know how you don't argue that he's the best player and the most talented player in this field. Look at the number, though, still at 13-1. I think it was up to like 18-1 at the start of the week. I think I got him in at 15 yesterday, so it's dropped even more. So Bhatia, just based on the fact that he's my guy, I think he fits well for this course. He's playing really good golf, and even if he didn't come into form, Dusty, the fact of the matter is he's my guy, and just look at a pure talent standpoint, I think you've got to go with him. Slightly down the card, I'm going with Patrick Rogers. Yeah. His gameplay really fits the way that this golf course kind of lays out. And I also think he's coming in with really good form. He performed pretty well last week. So I want to get a piece of him at 24-1. And then I'm going to go a little bit further down the board at 50-1. Michael Thorbjornsen. This guy absolutely cranks the ball off the tee. He was an amateur last year, played on, I believe, the PGA University, PGAU, or whatever they call that now with the NCAA, where you can earn your card. So I like him. He bombs it off the tee. I think he kind of fits really well with this course as well. And then EVR, Van Rooyen, I think he at 66-1, he could be a really, really good play as well. He is a guy that has had success at this course. His play as of late, I definitely wouldn't say he's blowing the world on fire, but I think he's a guy that definitely can have some success here. So those are my three outrights that I like for this one. There's a couple other top 10s, top 20s that I like as well, but I'll let you get to your outright plays.
Well, I figured I knew exactly where you're going because Bhatia and Rogers were the top two guys in my car. I think, I think there's really good value on both of those guys when you compare them to the rest of the field. Rogers, he was in the lead last week. Yeah. He ends up T3. He's been top 10 in this event every single time that he's played it. So Rogers and Bhatia for sure. The other guy that I look at is, and this is a guy who's had, moderate success at this event since it started. His last three, T15, T18, and T3. And over the 12 rounds that he's played, he averages about 68. And that's Stefan Jaeger. So I don't know the number on him, obviously. I can't find it because I can't access Coolbet here in Massachusetts. But what's the number on Jaeger? What's he at?
24. And I actually was
okay.
I was looking at him. I liked his number. It basically came down to him, Kitsuyama, who I think I've seen a lot on people's cards as well, and Rogers, but I went with Rogers. But if we're going to build some sort of parlay, I would absolutely be totally fine with Jaeger popping up on that one.
Yeah, I almost feel like this parlay's pretty much built itself already. If we want to do a top 20, we could just go Bhatia, Rogers, and then Jaeger. I don't know what the number would be on that, but
get a pretty good number. I'm fine with that. If we go, would you say you want to go with top 20s for all
if we
three
did
of those
top
guys?
20s, unless you want to slot one of them, put Bhatia as the top 10, maybe?
Yeah, you could. could do that. I mean, that's not I actually don't hate that. We definitely get a better number on it if we wanted to do that. But again, we could just go full on top 20s for that.
I mean, it'll suck if our other two guys finish top 20 and Batya finish 12th.
It's true. That would
blow.
sting.
That would not be good.
I'm
good either way.
Maybe we play it safe then. Yeah, you're probably right. We probably should play it safe. We'll go with those three in the top 20 for that. I also, again, a little bit of a long shot. Aldrich Potage. He is he's a South African. I believe 80-1 is his number right now. He was in the final group at the Farmers Insurance. I believe he ended up having a really rough round, fourth round. I think he was like +6. He really, really fell apart. But it's with the Farmers Insurance at Torrey Pines. It's a bomber's course, but you got to keep it within the fairway. Here, you can spray it around a little bit, but you have to be able to bomb it. This guy smacks it off the tee. He is an up-and-coming superstar in the PGA Tour over in the next couple of years. He just grips it and rips it, and the South African, I think, matches perfectly. So I'm going to sprinkle him at the 80-1, but I also will, because my top 20 plays have been doing really, really well to start, although Pendrith, I think he was top T50 or something. He really struggled on the weekend. But I think the last 4 events, I think I've catched 3 top 20. So I think I'm going to give out him as my favorite top 20 bet for this week. And I think it's at like +3 something.
Do you keep tabs on any of the TGL stuff this week?
It was crazy. I didn't watch a ton on Monday because of obviously the Four Nations games. But no, I was watching. I caught a little bit of it yesterday. The Tiger was hilarious. 99. Okay. And grabs his wedge. No, 199 yards. He's classic. Absolutely classic. But the Bay Hive coming up with a big victory on Monday. I ended up winning my bet yesterday as well. I hate to say it, but coming to a point where, if you're playing Jupiter, and the money line's anywhere hovering, 140 and less, you almost have to take it at this point. I think they got their one lucky win. Just now that these other golfers have kind of figured out how to play this thing. I think there's a huge gap between the two California teams right now, in my personal opinion. The Bay and LA. I think those two teams are the cream of the crop when it comes to TGL. I don't know if I'm frozen or if it's... It looks like Dusty is frozen.
Hey, Patty, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, yeah, Dusty just called me. He fell through. Something happened. He disconnected. So if you want to wrap it up, then that's the show for today.
Alrighty. Okay, so I don't know if you guys could hear that. Dusty obviously dealing with some internet problems down at the Encore in Boston. So quick appearance for myself. We gave out our picks. I'm going to have a Patty's golf special as well. We'll have the Lock Shop partner parlay as well. And then, of course, the main event tomorrow, Canada, US right now, -108 on both sides. Player props already up there as well. And of course, if you haven't cashed in on your weekly cashback, tomorrow is your last chance for that. I know Winnipeg Sports Talk will have their programming with us. You can stick it here with the Lock Shop as well. For Pat Gregoire and everyone down in Boston, which I'm very, very jealous. I want to thank you for tuning in and sticking to EST for more coverage.